Reading with your kids.
Hola, niho, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, moni moli wanji, namaste, jumbo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so delighted and so very honored that you're joining us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. Please be sure to tell all of your family and friends about the show. Tell your neighbors. Tell your kids' teachers and principals and librarians. And also please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, wherever you find your podcasts. Our guests today are Estani and Sophia Frizzell. They are here to celebrate introducing Sai the Peacock, the Unique Beak. Before we invite Estani and Sophia into the studio, we want to let you know that this episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by Ancient Eats, an edible exploration of the world, written by Stephanie Hansen, our friend from History Unboxed. Go on a mouth-watering journey through the ancient world with this family-friendly cookbook. Each of the more than 100 recipes is inspired by delicious historical dishes and adapted for ease of preparation in the modern kitchen. Taste your way through 18 cultures as you feed your mind with mythical origins and historical significance of food from around the world and across tens of thousands of years. It's a wonderful book. What a great way to get your kids excited about learning, get your kids excited about culture, get your kids excited about trying new things. Check it out today. Ancient Eats by Stephanie Hansen. This episode of the podcast is also brought to you by the Antidotes Pollution Solution, written by Dr. Patty Michelle. Dr. Patty Michelle is a writer and public health specialist who combines her passion for women, technology, science, and the world in order to inspire women and girls through her writing. That inspiration can be found in her new middle grade novel, The Antidotes Pollution Solution. Just when a group of fifth grade friends is returning to normal life and to school after a global pandemic, the waters of the Chesapeake Bay have become polluted by a plastic-eating bacteria experiment gone wrong, and both fish and kids are getting sick. Izzy, Gear, and their friends go to Science Club and discover a fishy cover-up. The school has to close down again. These climate warriors, who call themselves the Antidotes, join forces with public health activists to find clean water solutions. The friends use STEM strategies to help save the Earth from a potential disaster. And they also have secret meetings to do a little spy work and make some useful discoveries. You and your kids are going to absolutely love The Antidotes Pollution Solution by Dr. Patty Michelle. Join us right now from Austin in the great state of Texas. Our guests are here today to celebrate a beautiful picture book. It's called Introducing Sai the Peacock, a Unique Beak. Please welcome to the show Estani and Sophia Frizzell. Hey, my friends, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm wonderful. The first voice you heard is Estani. Estani, you are the author of Sai the Peacock. Am I right?
You're absolutely right. Yes, I am.
Tell us about this story, please.
Well, it's about a bird who is born into royalty. So he is committed to fulfilling his royal duties, but he has this dream of pursuing singing and performance opportunities. However, his family and all around him, the flock, think he's absolutely insane. Like, you cannot do that. And he also has this really enormous beak, which peacocks in real life don't have. So the irony of the story is that he actually does have a beautiful voice, but because peacocks naturally have this braying, screechy sound, and because they all sound the same, he's different. So they're like, you must have the really bad voice. So why are you even pursuing this dream of singing? So he's told, no, can't do it. You have to follow the royal bloodline. You cannot sing. So he goes to, he still wants to pursue this dream, and he follows the rules, but he goes silently and quietly to this stream far far away. And he realizes that or he doesn't realize actually until later, there's the little river creatures, the stream, the crickets and the ladybugs and the frogs and the roly-polies. And they're like, wow, this guy has it all. And a cricket befriends him and wants to promote him and be his music manager in a sense. So he gets, a different tribe, so to speak, to find that sound to be very beautiful. And the peacocks realize, I won't give everything away, but in that the peacocks realize what they did unknowingly to, kind of stifle his dreams. And he is heard by an eagle, and the eagle flies across the world and says, oh my gosh, you have to hear this bird. He's amazing. So he embarks on a tour with his new cricket promoter, and it's going to be a series. So he goes to different countries, and we will have music indicative of each country and the authentic cultural music of that country.
This sounds like a lot of fun. And Sophia, now you are Estani's daughter, and you illustrated the book. As Estani was telling me the story about Sai and being rejected and his family of peacocks not recognizing his talents and thinking that he's crazy for wanting to pursue this dream, that actually sounds like the story of a lot of artists that I know. I'm wondering, Sophia, do you think that this was somewhat autobiographical, that Mom reached back into her life to write this story?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Well, I think it's exactly what you said. I feel a lot of so many artists in different regardless of kind of what field you're in. I'm in visual art, and she's kind of in performing arts, but with both of those things, it is sometimes a little difficult to find your tribe or a support system or kind of your people. So to speak, and you hear, so many stories about people kind of in those fields or with that way of thinking, going out and into the world, and finding that community and family. So yeah, definitely. And I feel like I feel every artist kind of has that story. If it's not in their own, if it's not within their own family, it's within, they go out of their comfort zone, and they do experience that by, other groups of people. And they do feel like that feeling of being ostracized and kind of coming into their own. Yeah. So definitely, I do feel like, you pulled from your experiences.
Yeah. One of the engineers on the music was like, I didn't even realize it. He, once he, read the story, he has a 2-year-old now, and he said, Estani, is this a little bit of art imitates life? And I was like, because we share stories, and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about it. So yeah, I think there's some little or subconscious pull there from things from my past. Yeah.
Estani, I mean, that certainly is something that I experienced when I announced to my family and friends that I was going to leave the social work field to become a professional clown and magician. They were like, what's wrong with you? Number one, you're too old, and no one in your family's been an artist. What are you, crazy? And thankfully, they allowed me to go out there and give me enough rope to fail. And 30 years later, I haven't failed yet. But so it's wonderful. But why do you? Thank you. Why do you think that is, Estani? Why do you think there are so many families when somebody says, "I want to do this different thing. I want to be a singer. I want to be an artist. I want to be a clown." What is it that so many families automatically say, "Nope, that's crazy. Get a real job."
I think it's fear. It's not out of lack of love or support necessarily, even though the person that is wanting to fulfill that dream, that's the way it's felt. You experience those feelings like, why don't you see what I see? Why aren't you supporting me or giving me that, that love and confidence that I need? And I think it's people can only see for you what they see for themselves. So if they don't see, if the fear in them is like, I would never do that because I can't see that happening for me, then they're automatically going to put that perspective on you unknowingly, I think it's this protective, I just want to protect you, but it doesn't come across that way. And to the person experiencing those emotions. So I really do, like I said, I feel like someone can only see for themselves, for you, what they see for themselves. I think a big thing is fear. And that's what I recognize now as I've gotten older, where, you know, I don't get that support that maybe I wanted at one time. And I've seen the different outlook, I guess, for myself, and this is a really strange metaphor, I guess, but it's like, I could either look at it as like saying pro-peace or anti-war. I always use, instead of, well, they didn't, blah, 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 you know, whatever, putting it into negative perspective. It's like, well, I know if they saw it for themselves, they would see it for me. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I like that sentence. People can only see for you what they're able to see for themselves. That makes perfect sense. I'm wondering, Sophia, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but, you know, your mom having lived through this experience herself and you, you know, wanting to get into the visual arts, are you getting a different experience? Are you getting more support from your mom?
Yeah, I think, oh, definitely. I mean, you've been
and I was like, she paused.
No, I would say she's been supporting me since day one, by far. Absolutely.
I know, inside I was like, what?
I didn't think, I didn't know.
It was the Zoom delay. It wasn't you, Sophia. It was just the
exactly. No, she has, I think the question, from the way I processed it was, you know, kind of the fear from, I guess, like other people that we know, like kind of outside, sources. But no, she has been my supporter since day one. And I am so grateful. And why I took a huge long pause in the analogy that I was going to make was, you don't realize how much in just such a good way that the support from one person can do and can contribute. Like, I think it's that, what is it? It's that quote from, I don't know if like Lady Gaga said it, but I know she says it like, if it's like 99, you know, people don't have to see your talent, but if that one person sees it, you know, and it makes all the difference and they can, you know, really push you. And that's such an amazing thing. So I'm very grateful. And yeah.
That's cool. That's so cool. Estani, you have been telling stories, and you tell stories through song. And you're telling a story now through the written word. How is that different for you? Was it difficult to transition from telling stories with a musical background to, you know, writing things on the page?
There was quite a difference, but the similarity, I guess, the through line between writing my lyrics and song and writing this book in particular is that this book is a rhyming book. So it still gave me that poetic type of stanza writing to put in, you know, that made it still sing-songy and rhythmic in a sense. I initially started writing this as a screenplay because I wanted, and I still do, it's on my bucket list. I want to make this a movie, you know, because I know I had the whole movie in my mind, this whole like hour and a half, and it started from the very beginning, but that was really hard for me. So, if I go from that perspective, yeah, it was so different because it was out of my element, you know, but I love writing. I love, just conveying my emotions, in the written word, regardless if it's a book or a song. But yeah, I did find it a bit difficult to go from that kind of writing as opposed to, you know, meaning like a book, a non-rhyming children's, you know, screenplay and things of that sort, rather than putting it into more of, that rhyming narrative that has that rhythmic interpretation to it. Mm-hmm. So that made it a little easier and more in my wheelhouse to write the book.
One of the things, and maybe you can comment on it, we have a lot of authors that listen to the show and a lot of authors who are aspiring to write rhyming picture books, and a lot of authors who have written rhyming picture books, but even just because the last word of every other sentence rhymes doesn't mean that it's perfect. You know, they don't think about the meter. How can somebody who's not a singer, not a songwriter, kind of learn to put their words not only rhyming but into that meter, that beat, so that it reads like a song or like a, you know, with a rhythm?
Well, a lot of it is how the words, it's funny because I've always said that I can kind of see the word, not just hear it. I can see how it goes together. It's like a puzzle in my head. It's kind of odd, I guess. But, you want to look at things like alliteration, metaphors and simple simple vowel structure, simple consonants where like if you were to put, a harsh CK, let's say sound, and then a harsh L, you have to see, not a harsh, but like a harsh consonant sound right after another one. You have to be able to hear how is that going to grind together rhythmically. Does that make sense? If you put together like, metal and stone, I'm trying to find these, analogies to help understand how our letters and how the sounds just go together and how that rhyme of like, one and two and things of that sort, get a metronome, put a beat together, even on your iPhone, and just see how you can, put those words on a downbeat or on an upbeat and feel there's a pulse there. And sometimes a syllable, you'll wind up saying, syllable, and that happened to me a lot with writing, especially because I write in Spanish as well. And if the word has an accent in another place, and instead of, for example, if I don't say comer means to eat in Spanish, if I say, comer, it's gonna throw everything off. So a lot of that is just really writing to a metronome, writing to a beat, and it can be just 4/4 time, really easy, 1 and 2 and 1. And if your emphasis is on a different syllable, then you're going to try to, putting all these words into one little beat, then make it really simple. Mm-hmm. I go fishing. I go swimming. I like to do all these things. I'm just thinking off the top of my head right now, but start with the same suffixes, the INGs, or start with anything that helps with alliteration, repetitive sounds. It just helps so much for children's ears too, to recognize that and to, build upon those sounds and to find that easy, what's the word I'm trying to say? Just that easy rhyming bounce. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah. I love the suggestion of writing with a metronome. And that's, when we have hundreds of books come to the studio here, and there's a lot of them, it's just obvious that the person started and there's a beat, and then somewhere along the line they just kind of lost it. And so I think writing with that metronome, with that beat, would be really, really helpful.
Yeah.
Sophia, I'm wondering, as a artist, I'm imagining that you've I have a niece who loves art, and anytime I've asked her to do something, she's always been, no, I can't do somebody else's. It has to come from my mind. I can only create things that are in my mind. Here you are, and I'm sure that was part of you, and you love creating from your own mind. But now you have to help your mom tell this story. What was that like? Was that a hard transition for you?
I don't believe it was too hard of a transition to go from what I usually do from my usual work into this. It was different in the sense that it was a completely different medium. I never worked with digital art prior to the book. Mm-hmm. So that was really fun. I had so much fun doing like my own original character design for the book, and I do completely relate to your niece that is, it has to go from my own brain, and I do set those like same standards, I feel, but there's a lot of like good to come from that, and I really, I loved taking elements from different books. I was embarking on this new project. I love taking inspiration from other things that was completely out of my comfort zone. So I would, just look at everything I could, and kind of as you were doing this and doing the different character designs and telling me their personality, even like their personality traits or the way they said something on a page, to me was even indicative of different like physical features that they could have. So that was really, really a lot of fun.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Creating something together can oftentimes be, there's a lot of friction. and, you know, kind of back and forth ideas. I think it should go this way. No, it should be blue instead of red and all that. And most creative folks at the end of their day, they can walk away from each other. But you guys, mom and daughter, did you experience any of that tension while you were creating Sai the Peacock, or was it all just roses and we're having a blast?
It was all just roses. No, okay. No, it was not. No, it was not that. There were times where, you know, not that we had disagreements. There was a lot of pressure on Sophia because as a mom, you know, I had to figure out what roles to play because I don't have any background in art. That's not my forte at all. So as a mom, my maternal side wanted to take over and say, I got it. Just go to school. And cause she was, a junior in high school when she started, having, you know, putting the illustrations together. So that was like 3 years ago. But since I didn't know how to do it and there were these deadlines at the time before we were published that I knew I had to meet. And if they weren't met, nobody was going to yell at me, but I knew that this would be longer and longer. And so when I didn't get them, those deadlines weren't done, I had to separate myself from like mom and say, well, she's in school. Well, it's okay. Because we were already like, whether it's a quarter of the way or halfway, I was like, no, we can't stop now. So then there were times it was hard for her. She was like, I'm doing all this other stuff and I can't, you know, and at one time she's like, I'm not doing this. And I was like, no, like mom and like, I don't know, like a gargoyle and, you know, CEO of like whatever, but you are doing this or you know, she wasn't really going to be fired, but I was like, there is no way, like, no, that is not happening. So but I'm so grateful that we have such an open relationship. And I think since she was little, the one thing that I really always pushed was the mutual respect. Whether she was 2 or 5, you know, I would, or 18, you know, the way she is now, 19. I would never like, how can I put it? We always had this open communication. I just always wanted to, I spoke to her like a little adult. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't know whether everybody has their own parenting style. And I really listened to what she had to say, even as a child, or she might say, no, she didn't, not all the time. I tried. So I think that was always good. Every time I felt something off, maybe I would say, well, what's wrong? Let's fix this. Let's try to see what we can do to make this fun for both of us. Yeah. So
cool.
What do you?
The same, pretty much. Okay. I mean, you pretty much said everything that was, on my mind.
Yeah. Well, you know, I have to tell you, Sophia, I almost fired my son from my magic show, but he was 4 at the time and he came on and he used to go up on stage and he would tell a joke and people would laugh and he had a nice response at this one performance and I said, great, thanks. And I reached down to take the microphone from him and he grabbed it back from me and he said, I'm not done yet. And I said, son, you are.
Yeah, you're like, I'm not done either, but not here at home.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, Estani, you said that Sai is going to go on tour, that this is going to be a series of picture books, and Sai is going to go on tour. I'm interested to learn what countries he might be visiting, but I'm also interested to learn, are you going to show the real glamour of being a touring performer? You know, everybody says, oh, it's so great, you're on the road, it's wonderful. And in reality, it's like a bus and a hotel and a stage, and then a bus and a hotel and a stage. And what are we going to do?
Well, you will see, the real quote unquote glamorous side, meaning the real grit of what it takes to do something like that. And you will see, you know, the celebratory parts as well. When, you know, there's countless hours and days and times of work for an hour show or a 2-hour show, and then it's over, and then you do it all again, you know, countless hours on the road. And I did that too. I was on tour for many years when Sophia was very young with a big artist. I was his backup singer. But, and I also wanted, just from a child's perspective and also from an adult, you know, it will talk about going into, you know, other countries, not knowing the language, not, you know, having to acclimate to things that you are completely out of your element, and find a way to make those things work for you. But of course, because this is an animal, there's going to be different animals. There's going to be different, themes where, people try to like undercut but I'll write it in a way that is for children, but kind of like, I don't want to use this analogy, but I guess I will, like SpongeBob. I just love SpongeBob, but there's so many adult references if you watch as an adult that you can catch, but it's so it's so tailored for children also that adults and kids alike can really identify. So I'm hoping to have that play, that communication and that relationship come into our book.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be going to Mexico next.
Awesome. And Sophia, are you excited to take the character and pop it in Mexico and add all that Mexican flavor to your illustrations?
Oh, 100%. We just had this conversation. Like, I am a very visual person, obviously. I wouldn't be if I didn't, paint. And I think one of the main things that I was so excited to do about this specific book was the use of color in it. That was so exciting to me. And so I can already see, we've been talking about him going to Mexico, and I can already see the colors that we can use in my head, and, the different characters and the backgrounds and just everything, visually. And there's such a rich culture that we can kind of play off of. So I'm very, very excited for that.
That's wonderful. Well, I know people are going to want to know where they can go to find out more about introducing Sai the Peacock, a unique beak, and also find out about your music, Estani.
Well, you can purchase the Unique Beak on all digital platforms that sell books, so Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Target. If you are in the Austin area, there are signed editions at the biggest bookstore here in Austin called Book People. So that's a big plus. You can find my music. And before I even talk about my own music as me, an artist separated from the book, I don't know if I mentioned, but we do have 3 songs on the back of the book on the QR code. I'm sorry, we have a dog outside. Keeps barking. Apologies for that. And it's 3 songs that are a part of Sai the Peacock. So each book will have songs that he sings. The song, I wrote the music. I wrote the lyrics and the melody, and I had a great composer, musician, Greco Barato, write the music. And each one talks about one of the songs is what he performs in concert. The other song is the relationship between he and his mother, because the mother does come and apologize and talks about how she was raised. And there's a big song that really explains that relationship. And when he meets Cricket. So those are all also on Spotify. We have an audiobook narration as well. So it's all scored, and I'm so proud of that. You can find those on Spotify under Introducing Sai the Peacock, the Unique Beak. He has his own Spotify page, and Apple Music, YouTube Music, Amazon. And you can find my music under my name, Estani, on the same, not under Introducing Sai the Peacock, right, but I'm under Estani on Spotify and all digital music platforms. My YouTube channel is Estani Frizzell, and I do neo soul Latin jazz music.
Awesome. And Sophia, do you have a website yet or web presence we can check out? Maybe an Instagram page?
I do. I have my personal account. My art is a little macabre side. That's okay. My art is a little on the macabre side. It's a little spooky. So you could find my personal account. It has a lot of my paintings, and that is Sophia V, like Victoria, Sophia V Frizzell on Instagram. And I do have a website. It is Art by Frizzell. artbyfrizzell.com, and it has my portfolio and everything, and just all of my paintings over the years. And you can also find the Unique Beak there.
Awesome. Awesome. We've had a great time speaking to the author and illustrator of Introducing Sai the Peacock, the Unique Beak, Estani and Sophia Frizzell. My friends, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having us. This was a wonderful time. Thank you.
Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Sarah Ayers. She'll be here to celebrate a spider's life on the farm as part of Sarah's Tales from the Coop series. Hey, we would love for you to connect with us on social media. So many different ways to connect. Facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, at readingwithyourkids on Instagram and TikTok, and at JedleyMagic on Twitter. And of course, we'd love for you to visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com. You can sign up for our free newsletter and also use the contact button at the top of the page. Send us a message. Let us know what we're doing right. Let us know what we could be doing better. And let us know who you would like to hear on a future episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. I want to thank the folks who make today's show so wonderful. Of course, we're going to start by thanking our guests, Estani and Sophia Frizzell. Please be sure to check out the Unique Beak. Also want to thank our sponsor, Dr. Patty Michelle. Check out the Antidotes Pollution Solution. And we also want to thank our delicious sponsor, Ancient Eats by Stephanie Hansen. I want to thank my team, Fatima Khan, Rory Grady, Mirabella Q, Jordan Saley. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.